Coming up in this week's show, we go in search of an affordable SUV for under 200,000 Rand.
We compare the ownership prospects of the VW Golf GTI and Golf R.
And we advise a viewer who has experienced a series of issues with his Ford Fusion.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide. We'll be tackling a fresh batch of your vehicle-related questions and queries once again. Here to help us this week are Gift Makoti from Gifted Media and Leon Loyson from Mahindra Johannesburg South. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back in studio. Yeah.
Remember, if you like the panel's advice, you can send us an email to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za, and please include as much detail as you can, plus a clear photograph of yourself.
Okay, we're going to kick off things with a question from Spoo, who hails from Belita, and he's in search of an affordable SUV. And it must be a used one, because his budget is only 200,000 Rand. Or his monthly installments of 4,000 Rand, including his insurance. He's considering a 2013 Hyundai iX35, Kia Sportage, and the Honda CR-V. He seeks advice on which of these options would be the best buy. Leon, let's start with you. iX35, Kia Sportage, obviously of the same era of the iX35, and a Honda CR-V. All good cars.
Look, I don't know how old Cebu is, and if he says he wants to spend 4,000 Rand including insurance, that might be a challenge. Because rule of thumb, every 50,000 is about 1,000 Rand a month, but then your insurance might be something crazy. So,
Insurance might be $2,000 a month.
There we go. So now
these cars aren't high-risk cars, eh? So
no, they're not. But his age
bad.
might be. We don't know how old he is.
Yeah.
So, if I had to go with one of those, I'd go with the Honda personally. But then again, the Korean and Japanese, they're solid.
Yeah.
Sportage is great. The 2.4 is very heavy on fuel, in my opinion, but the 2-liter CRDI was very, very nice. But then again, also in your iX35 is also a lovely car. But if that age, if I were to put my money on something, I'd go with the Honda.
The Honda,
100%.
Bulletproof vehicle, it's got more space.
Yeah.
It's actually an extremely good car to drive. Gift, your opinion?
My first thought when I heard 200,000, I thought, great budget to work with. Until I heard 4,000 Rand, including insurance.
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky, depending on, obviously, his age. And obviously, these are not high-risk cars, but where you live, where's the car park during the day and night. And
there's lots of factors that influence that
100%. But looking at these, I'm not a big fan of Kia Sportage, especially around this era. But I think the Honda CR-V, I see quite a lot of them on the road still. I had a neighbor that had a Honda CR-V, had a family of 34, fit in there with bags and
very spacious.
Yeah, very spacious, and they also sound good. They don't idle way too high. They look like
they're
great cars.
They're very good cars.
100%. So my vote here will go for the Honda CR-V.
So in terms of the insurance, I would say to a potential buyer, and it applies not only to Spoo here, but anybody buying a vehicle, and you don't know what your insurance is going to be.
Call them first.
You just phone around and say, look, I've got an iX35, and it's this year, and how much would it cost to insure? I've got a Honda CR-V, it's this year, how much would that cost to insure?
Exactly.
And then you can weigh up and see what the costs are in terms of insurance, and then you can work out what you can afford. But your budget of 200,000 Rand, or just below, you should find yourself a decent CR-V. Even if you bought one with 120 to 150,000 kilometers on it, they will easily do 400,000 kilometers, of course, as we often mention, as long as you maintain them properly. So I think we would all agree.
Yeah, I would agree as well, but the point is, if he wants to still squeeze it into his budget, maybe he must look at the CR-V with a higher mileage. That's the only one I'd recommend with a slightly higher mileage.
To leave a bit of change.
Yes, so he'll be able to then squeeze that 4,000 Rand, including insurance.
100%.
If he looks for a CR-V with a higher mileage, and the others, look, they find cars and things like that, but if you want to squeeze that in, it's got to be a higher mileage. And I'm saying Honda because, like Adam says, 400, 500,000 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly.
Still got
So the Sportage and the iX35 are good cars. The CR-V's,
A great car. Yeah.
And that's what we often say. There's good cars and there's great cars. You won't go wrong with any of them, but I think the best of the bunch there would be the CR-V.
Okay, our next viewer is P-Way, who's inquiring about the reliability and suitability of a 2019 Nissan XTrail 1.6 diesel with 120,000 kilometers on the clock. They are curious to know if the vehicle is an easy to repair and dependable purchase with enough power. His budget is 300,000 Rand, and they intend to keep the car indefinitely while using the vehicle for work and occasional out-of-town trips, averaging 1,500 kilometers per month. Okay, gentlemen, the 1.6 diesel XTrail gift, what do you think about it? Is it worth the trouble? 120,000 kilometers on the clock?
Look, I've had quite a close experience with my former boss. Used to have a 2019 XTrail. Actually, I think his was about 2018-ish late. It was a good car, good power. It was big enough inside. The boot was amazing. He only had aircon issues once, and he still drives the car to this day. So I think this is a good car. Not sure about the 300,000 rand budget if that's the only car you could get for the price range. There's also other cars you could look at, because the car he's looking at is at 120,000 kilometers on the clock. Clearly, they also have got an appetite to look at high mileage cars. And if you look at all the other segments where you still have around the Qashqai around the same range, which is not too much of a difference between the two cars.
I can't even tell the difference between them two when they drive past. They all both look exactly the same.
100%. They all both look exactly the same. And also the diesel one on the Qashqai is also a good car. I had one that I dropped at 320,000 on the clock. And it was still a good car. I tried to buy it later. It was still priced above 200,000. So I think it's still a good buy. If there's another option, you can also look at the Qashqai.
Yeah, that's a good option because it's basically the same car. Leon, your
No, if as a Nissan fan, I would, but I would also have a look around.
Yeah.
I mean, that is quite a big budget for a vehicle that's 5 years old.
Yeah.
So look, if you specifically want diesel, then have a look around and see. But the power in that vehicle wouldn't be an issue. And like Gift says, the power, the size, and the creature comfort will be there.
So as it's a diesel vehicles do prefer. You can't really skip on the maintenance on them because otherwise it becomes expensive. So if you don't change your oil regularly, you'll find turbocharger failure. If you're going to areas where there's dodgy fuel, that can be a problem because fuel injectors can be very expensive to fix. You could spend 25,000, 30,000 rand replacing 4 diesel injectors. So understand, if you buy a vehicle like this, it's imperative that you need to maintain it every 10,000 kilometers. You take it in, have an oil change, have the filter changed, do the service when it's required. Occasionally you buy yourself a good fuel injector cleaner, you bang it in the fuel tank, let it go through, keep those injectors clean and everything in the system clean. It's imperative. These cars, not only a Nissan XTrail, but any sort of small diesel vehicle must be properly maintained. And if you're somebody who doesn't maintain the vehicle, do not buy it.
Indefinitely. They like to keep the car indefinitely.
Well, you can, but then you've got to
but
maintain
you're
it.
do exactly what Adam said.
You've got to indefinitely maintain the car. All right, stay tuned, because after the break, we compare the ownership prospects of the VW Golf GTI and the Golf R.
And we find out if the Mahindra Scorpio is a well-suited workhorse bike. You're watching Buyer's Guide, and if you've just joined us, welcome to this week's show. Fumani from Johannesburg admires the Volkswagen Golf 7.5, but finds himself torn between the Volkswagen Golf GTI and the Golf R. Fumani wants to know whether these cars differ significantly in terms of ownership and day-to-day usage. He's interested in learning about the pros and cons of owning either model as they are considering purchasing one.
Wow, this has been discussed at many a pub, eh?
Hey.
Over a beer. Which is better, the GTI or the R? Gift, what do you think?
If they are from the same generation, because they mentioned 7.5, so I'm assuming it's also 7.5R. Around the same time. If you still have a couple of bucks to spend, why not just go for the R? I mean, you're already there, and if you're already spending a couple of bucks, you know the risk elements that surround the GTI badge itself. I guess you're planning to do it. I'll leave the mechanical part to you guys, especially on these much more newer reformed engines that are, that I've known for given issues in the past. But I'm thinking the 7.5Rs, in terms of the looks, they're lookers. They're beautiful, they're well-specced.
Nice to drive.
Nice to drive.
Really fun cars.
100%. As long as it's got a sunroof so you don't look like a cop on the road, undercover cop, then I think you're good. But just go for the 7.5R and not the 7.5 if you still have a couple of bucks. You're already there.
Yeah,
So
get all
I
the
don't
extra
see
features. The R comes with all-wheel drive.
100%.
Much more powerful engine. Leon?
But it's also, obviously you're going to want to go for the R. But it's like if you say to a customer, you're going to pay 4,000 Rand and you can drive this car, or you can put a 40% balloon payment on it and you can drive the car for the same monthly payment, but it's got a twin turbo and it's way more powerful. You're obviously going to go for that, but the risk is the balloon payment. So, you want to drive who's going to say, no, I'd rather drive the GTI? No one. You're obviously going to want to drive the R. So what's the pros, what's the cons, what's the risk, you know what I mean? But Yeah, the pros is obviously street cred. I
Yeah,
mean, that R
100%.
is
And the
amazing.
R mechanically is better than a GTI because it's got a different engine in it. Doesn't have the same engine. So it has a much better, stronger engine in it. It's designed stronger because obviously there's a lot more power.
Sure.
And it's all-wheel drive. It looks better.
It's me,
I mean,
man.
I would go for the R all day long.
100%.
Well, anybody would, but you know. So I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of a weird question, but
Let's
Yeah, but
forget
you know, if you
theft
got the money,
aspect of it.
Yeah,
if you got the money,
Yeah.
like you said, you're there already. If you
Sure.
got, why not just go for the R?
Yeah.
The 7.5 shouldn't have even been in your thoughts.
Sure, because some of
If you're thinking of the R, go buy the R. It's a 7.5.
You got R money,
It's not
go to the
a
R.
8R.
I think
it's not a
you've
Golf
just nailed it on the head. If you got R money, go and buy it. And that's R with a rand, you know?
yeah,
Lots of it.
got you.
Yeah, you're gonna need lots of it. And we'd also just buy. It's like saying, well, do you want a mid-range car or a top of the range? Buy the top of the range.
anybody.
Yeah.
would.
Always nicer. Okay, we're gonna move on because Thando Wetu resides in Ntata and owns a fully paid off 2018 Isuzu KB250 X-Rider, the black edition double cab, which he purchased new and has faithfully served him very well. He uses the car for daily commute and is occasionally as a workhorse to transport a 1,000-litre tank of water. Thando is contemplating trading in his Isuzu for a Mahindra Scorpio 2.2 pickup double cab. He seeks advice on the following questions. Is it advisable to trade in his Isuzu for a Mahindra? How does the Mahindra bakkie compare in terms of maintenance and reliability considering Thando's limited experience with the Mahindra brand? So we got the guy from Mahindra here. So
expect him
I
to
know
say
you're going
no.
to say it's better than the
Like, so
Isuzu.
you're moving over.
Yeah, I'm giving you your room. This is your cue.
But obviously the Mahindra is not as big as the Isuzu. It's a bit smaller, isn't it?
Well, look, it's a lot higher. I mean, it's a very tall car. I mean,
Yeah.
like 1.92 meters or something like that. We've done measurements for people's garages, but it is an exceptional bakkie, and I'll say that without any bias. I mean, I've got a love for all cars, and the Isuzu is great. And I always say the best car is a paid-off car. You know, what I mean, this vehicle's paid off, and But let me just speak about the Mahindra brand and the Mahindra
Yeah, sure.
Scorpio. So now, with this vehicle, the pricing point, what you get with the car, the service, the service plans, the warranties. I mean, you get a 6-year unlimited mileage warranty on the car. There is a Mahindra dealership in Mthatha, so the footprint of Mahindra is growing. It's one of the fastest growing nameplates in the country. So their sales
living in
predominantly.
Mthatha is going to have a dealership.
He's going to
there.
have a dealership.
Somebody
that's
to
going
look
be able
after
to
it.
assist him.
Convenience.
We're not going to have to
Which is
now drive through East London to go and service your vehicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
That's
you
a
can
very
serve.
valid point, eh?
Yeah.
That's the big
That's
thing.
a
So
very-
I think we're selling about 80 dealers, okay, nationwide. So Mahindra is a heavy hitter now, especially in the bakkie market segment. That is our bread and butter. And yes, people do use the term agricultural when they talk about our bakkies, and that's with reason. I mean, it's a lot more box shape and so forth. But you know, I started at Toyota when the KZTs were around, and there was a bakkie. Then they changed that bakkie to the shapes that are running around now. And there's a lot of people that I know that have got the same notion as me. If I want to drive a bakkie, I want to drive a bakkie. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like a Land Cruiser, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
So
he's got an Isuzu. That's not exactly,
It's not exactly
not going to win any beauty competitions, that car.
You did right. And I mean, it's on paper, it's the funniest thing for me is on paper, the bakkie looks as though it couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding. Literally, it's 103 kilowatts.
Yeah.
It's nothing. But when you drive that bakkie,
I've never found them to be
flies.
underpowered. Yeah.
It flies. It goes. So I mean, like the previous person from the last show we had, that bakkie can do 160 k's an hour. No
Yeah.
problem. But granted, it's not designed for it.
It's-
But it's got the power, it's got the pull. It's rated to tow 3.5 tons with an overrun brake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a powerful van, and its pricing is exceptional. So, and you get a 6-speed manual, 6-speed automatic. So,
So, Gift, what do you think of the Mahindras? Would you, if I said to you, same price, here's a Isuzu bakkie and here's a Mahindra. But the Mahindra, you get more features.
100%, I'll go for the Mahindra. But the fact that he's mentioned the 1,000 litre tank of water that he's going to be pulling, he mentioned power.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
You definitely need that power there. And if he's had a Isuzu that served him well for those 6 years, and he decides he still wants to get rid of it, he clearly wants to explore the brand. Mahindra does make some good cars, right? And I think in this case, if he decides he wants to go for the Mahindra, one, convenience, he's got a dealership just around the corner to
in
just get
Mthatha,
it in Mthatha, and he also mentioned that he still can get a good warranty up to 160,000.
you get a 6-year unlimited.
6 years is quite a long time.
6
He's
years
already
unlimited, yeah.
100%. He's already had 6 years here. He probably
Yeah.
had to pay some money somewhere, maybe just after his maintenance
Yeah.
plan or something. I'd still say he must just take his chances and go for this 2.2 pickup. I've seen it on the road. I've seen it practically pulling a trailer that had sand, beach sand in it,
Yeah.
and it pulled it like nothing. So, I
So
think
the other
You know,
thing,
guys, we do need to consider as well that the Isuzu isn't a bad bakkie.
Not at all.
100%.
Oh, not at all,
If
no.
you asked me, and he's not asked the question here, I'd like to not be paying a monthly installment.
Okay.
I'd tell him then fine, keep your Isuzu, and it'll do exactly what it's been doing all this time.
Yeah.
You've not had any problems with it, major problems, and just put your money away. If for anything major that pops up,
It is another option, yeah.
you know,
But if you
I'd
want
tell
to-
him keep the
Yeah.
Isuzu.
The best vehicle is a
I'm
paid
not,
off vehicle.
hey?
The best vehicle is a paid off vehicle.
Yeah, like you said.
Why not
John,
go and incur debt? You know what I mean?
You're not. Why? You know, he doesn't say he's going to pay it off or anything.
Yeah.
You know, he's not buying it cash. So if he's going to have a, and I understand the maintenance plan and things like that. But in the first 5 years of a new vehicle, I don't want a maintenance plan because nothing's going to really fail. I want it after the
warranty.
6
Which
years.
manufacturers say for the first 5 years, we don't give you any warranty. We warranty you from 5 to 10 years.
Yes, that's what I want.
First 5 years.
That's what I want.
Any.
First 5 years, who needs a?
Yeah.
You need it now when your Isuzu 6 years old.
Yeah.
So that's the option. You can either keep your Isuzu
Yeah.
or go and buy a Mahindra. But we would say, yes, the Mahindra is a great option to have a look at.
Okay, Adam, if you say. We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, we advise a viewer who's experienced a series of issues from his beloved Ford Fusion.
And we discuss the pros and cons of rent-to-own vehicles. Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. 49-year-old Isaac comes from Rudaport, and he's the owner of a 2016 Ford Fusion. On a family trip, he noticed that the car was leaking oil under the engine. This was fixed by the dealer. Hardly a month later, the car started smoking from the tailpipes and the engine light came on. He then took the vehicle to an RMI workshop for a second opinion, where the workshop diagnosed his vehicle as to be burning engine oil, where they commenced to strip and quote proceeding, during which 2 bolts holding the housing broke off. After weeks of assessment, the workshop concluded that the engine was beyond repair due to the wear and tear. Isaac lodged a complaint to Ford South Africa to hold the dealer where he regularly takes the car for service accountable for the situation. However, the complaint was declined, stating that Isaac had taken his car elsewhere for repairs. He seeks advice on how to proceed without losing his car. We don't know if the vehicle was driven with no oil in it, low oil. And as you know, there is
The oil light comes on, yeah.
there's a responsibility of the owner as well
Yes,
to
all the
actually
time.
check his oil on a daily basis
2
or
months is a
weekly
long time.
basis.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is quite a long time. The other problem here is because now I've taken your vehicle to somebody else and not taken it back to that original dealer. Because if you're taking it back to the original dealer, they could have seen this exactly is the problem, as opposed to a third party saying, this is what the problem is. So it does become a huge issue in terms of trying to get this problem resolved.
We know this, that a lot of dealerships, I'm not saying all,
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen often, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but the minute they know that if they use the line, since you took it somewhere else, we're not responsible.
Yeah.
I don't know, Leon.
100%, I agree.
you
That's the
in
first thing that came to mind when I thought second dealer,
Yeah.
second opinion, then back to the
Back-
original
back-
guys.
no, all of a
Is it
sudden
because you
it's-
took it somewhere
No,
else?
you took it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Even if they know fully well, they're liable. The fact that you had it somewhere else. So Adam's point that, hey, dude, you have no claim is quite valid. You know, because in taking it somewhere else, we don't know. They can claim the bolts were damaged, the bolts were broken. They can claim all that. But you didn't take it back to who repaired it initially.
No,
You
the
see-
car is 8 years old there. So
Yeah, what I would say in applications like this, and I know that Ford diesel engine is actually quite a good, strong engine. They don't really give that many problems. What's happened here is because he's gone to a third party, the third party should have looked at it and said, okay, we can see there's a big oil leak from wherever it was. The owner of the vehicle should have
Should
said, hang on a
said,
sec,
yeah.
don't do anything, let me phone my dealer. Should have
Yeah.
phoned the dealer where it's been serviced at and said, listen,
Regularly,
I'm in
Wherever.
Bloemfontein and you're in Joburg. I can't bring the car back to you. We need to get this resolved. You were supposed to have fixed this and now it's still a problem. Then they can communicate and say, okay, let's get it to a Ford dealer where you are there. Let somebody else inspect it. Because this is the problem. It's like if you had a TV and you bought a TV from Macro and it stops working after a year and you take it to some guy down the road to fix it for you and then they can't fix it.
Now you want to
And you take it back to Macro and say, I want a refund. They say, no, but it's all been taken apart. You can't. It's logical. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to go through these processes so
Yeah.
that you don't have the battle that you're
That you're having now.
Because if you drove it to a third-party dealer
Yeah.
and they took the engine apart and now they say they can't fix it, that to me sounds like, hang on a sec. surely you can fix it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
So
it's a
And,
2-liter
you know,
diesel
you
engine.
should be able to put an engine
Yeah.
together and repair it.
Yeah.
They're claiming that that particular engine can't be repaired.
No.
Either they're not
Yeah.
top mechanics or there's a problem
That's
somewhere
from wear
here.
and tear.
Yeah.
So as an advice to someone who's watching and probably experiencing the similar issues with their car, what's the moral of the story? Do you keep going to the same guy and just pick up
Yes,
the
you
phone and
give-
call
yes, no,
and then
you-
if you're going to go for second opinion, what? You just do diagnosis and that's it?
Yeah.
No, if you stuck somewhere
Yeah.
and they've looked at it,
Yeah.
ask them please not to touch anything. Can you look at it without stripping?
100%.
And a lot of garages can have a quick squeeze and tell you, look, dude, this is where it's leaking, or this is what the problem seems to be. And then the onus then is on the owner to say, just hold on, I've just had it serviced or I just had it repaired. Let me contact.
So basically, you have no claim against Ford for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because
Unfortunately.
of what's happened. You should have gone through the processes here. And it's like anything, it is a
It is a
four-year-old
long process.
four-year-old
8 years
vehicle.
old.
Lots of things could have happened. And
And
So-
instead of being without a car now, had he just waited and then had it taken on a flatbed or whatever
Well,
back
could've-
to the dealer,
Yeah.
that would have been a better.
you may
way
find
to
that the
deal
dealer
with
would have said, we'll send a flatbed and bring it back,
Bring it
and
back,
we'll check it
yes.
out for you. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, what's happened now, you've put
You've
yourself
lost
in a
out, yeah.
situation where you're going to fit the bill for it. And I don't think there should be any liability on the dealership. Irrespective, if they bugger it up, it's irrespective. It's the fact that
Action
you've taken
Ford
it
is
somewhere.
part of Safao. It's a massive
Yeah.
group. They're not
Yeah.
going to play games.
They don't play games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all cross their T's and dot their
Yeah.
I's.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's
That's
terrible.
just
but
that's very sad.
that's life.
Yeah. Our last question is from Temba, who has noticed a recent trend in rent-to-own arrangements. He's curious about others' opinions on these deals, particularly those offering a car for 4.5 months along with warranty and insurance. He's really skeptical about this concept. Leon?
You know why this is springing up? Because there's so many people that are defaulting on their payments. They don't have disposable income anymore. They default on their payments, but they need to have a car. So it just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because I get nervous when I hear all these funny things. Buy this, pay this, and you get that. And it's like, give me a deposit and we won't send the car to auction. You can have it. I just think people burn their fingers. You know what I mean? But there is ideas and thoughts where, like, I know at Toyota, when I was with them, they used to have, they've got this thing that they call Kinto.
Okay.
So you can drive a vehicle during the week. You pick the vehicle up, you drive it during the week, and then let's say Toyota Aygo. But over the weekend, you need a Toyota Hilux. All this is obviously in an agreement. Then you take that vehicle to the Toyota dealership, you pick up the Fortuner, and you drive the Fortuner or the Hilux for the weekend. You drop the Fortuner off, you pick the Aygo up again. So it's a rental. You're renting that vehicle. Like Future Drive, Toyota's also got Future Drive.
Yeah.
So there is various, let's just call it vehicles that they use and ideas that they do to be able to help people in a rental space. But a rent to own and having a car, I hope that's correct, 4.5 months, including insurance. I don't know.
Well, you won't own it after 4 months.
No, you won't own
You
it
won't.
after
You're
no.
renting it.
So I've had this discussion with some of the people that actually do the rent to own. And what actually they do is they say to you, go find any vehicle, we'll finance it for you. A lot of people look at it and say, you know what, I know I can't get finance because I have a bad credit rating, I didn't do things right. But what I can do now is I can afford 2,500 Rand a month on this car, plus I pay the insurance and whatever that goes with it, where that car would cost me 1,200 Rand. But I'm happy to pay that because I can't get finance. I'd rather pay that extra until I get back on my feet.
You need a car.
Yeah, you need a car. So there are some, I think, really good rent-to-own deals out there, but you're going to be paying for it. It's going to cost you a fortune. There are terms and conditions that you've got to read and got to understand. You can rent it for a month. Some of the places will say, okay, I'll rent it to you for a month, and then you bring the car back, and then you're done. Or you can rent it for a period of, let's say, 5 years, and after the 5 years, if you've been paying it for the 5 years and you haven't defaulted, then once the car's paid off, it's yours. You keep it.
Because that rent to own, I was given to understand by someone who had a car. And after 5 years of having rented it, he thought it was his.
At what
It
year?
wasn't.
What was on the initial contract? They said,
That's what I
year?
asked him.
He obviously never read it.
He never read the
That's
initial
exactly
contract.
what I say.
He had to
Read
pay
and
like a
understand
huge lump sum that he could have went and bought another car.
To own the car.
To own the car that he's been driving for 5 years.
So these
So,
rent-to-own are there to make money. They're
Yes,
not
yeah.
car companies.
No, that's
They
absolutely
are
right.
finance companies that are there to make money. So understand why they're doing it and why you're in that situation. So make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting into when you go to. And there are, like in everything in life, there's good and bad companies. You'll find some
100%.
companies that are rubbish and that will
Yeah.
take you for a ride, and there's other companies that are fairly good. Just look, if you look online and see who are the big companies, who are the companies that are got 2,000 to 3,000 cars out, that are rent to own.
I think also to add, someone who's looking at this option, they're clearly in a bad, desperate state of just, I need to own a vehicle, or I need to have a vehicle to commute for either for work or for different stuff. It's still your money at the end of the day. You need to just sit back and relax and be like, okay, let me read to understand what's in here. Because at the end of the day, you will come at year 6 and will say, okay, maybe this is my vehicle. They'll say, no, you need to pay this. Yeah. So maybe even after 6 months into the deal, still go back to review to say, what was my deal again? Because you could be on that new buyer's high of, I just want to see the vehicle in my driveway, in my garage.
You could have had
so 6 months later, you are more calm, the new car smell is gone. Now you can actually see, okay, maybe that was a better option.
You could have had, you can have the car for, let's say, 2 years, and you get into financial difficulty and you miss a payment. And they come and repossess the car, because all those cars have got tracking devices in. They come and repossess the car back from you, and you've lost everything. You don't have nothing. So
kilometer restrictions as well. There will
Yes,
be
there's kilometer
so
restrictions. There's lots of.
just read, and if you don't, like Adam says, you don't understand something, get your clever brother to read it.
Well, just like that, we've come to the end of another show. Gift, Leon, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Having you here was really good. Thank you, guys.
Until next time, remember to keep left, pass right, and please keep it safe on the roads.